Welcome to Brian Keane Fitness Podcast, where we talk everything fitness, nutrition and mindset with your host, Brian Keane.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Brian Keane Fitness Podcast. We talk everything fitness, nutrition and mindset to help you with your goals. Today's episode is going to be a Q&A, so I've taken all the questions from my Facebook page and the recent Facebook Live that I did. So if you're not following my Facebook, check that out, Brian Keane Fitness. I know I missed a load of my questions on the Facebook Live because so many come in, so I've literally just pulled them at random for a podcast episode. I normally take a lot from my Snapchat as well, so if you're following me on anything, definitely check out my Snapchat. I put all my workouts, my meals, everything that I'm doing through the day on Snapchat, BrianK019, and I also take a lot of the questions for the podcast from Snapchat, so definitely check me out on there. Okay, first question from Patty Ford. What are your thoughts on natural test boosters? So to give a little bit of context, and just so that this isn't gender bias, there are girls that use test boosters as well. If, for example, your estrogen levels are too low, some girls will use things to bring up their natural testosterone levels. Normally when you're not taking it from an exogenous source like a form of steroid or pro-hormone, it normally doesn't do that much damage to females either. My overall thought on natural test boosters, effectively what they do is they're supposed to boost testosterone naturally in the body. I think they're a little bit overrated in some circumstances and underrated in others. So I'll explain. In the context of people thinking they're going to get pro-hormone or steroid-like gains, taking a natural testosterone booster, they're going to be massively overrated. So basically, the only difference between a steroid, like an anabolic steroid, and a pro-hormone is the pro-hormone has to convert when it's inside your body and it becomes an anabolic steroid after you consume it. That's why it's legal in some powerlifting sports and it's banned in others. So if you're in a natural federation, pro-hormones are also banned because you're not able to consume anything that's going to turn itself into an anabolic steroid. And an anabolic steroid, then testosterone in a synthetic form, for example, is just basically you're taking the steroid from an exogenous source and injecting it into your body and rising your levels that way. So that's what steroids and pro-hormones do. Natural test boosters then are largely marketed to have similar results. It's why people fork out a lot of money on them, because they think that they're going to get an incredible shape and muscle density and size. Particularly guys, we tend to fall for this, and I've fucking fallen for this, where I've looked at like a fitness model or a bodybuilder on a magazine with D-aspartic acid or natural test booster 10,000. I'm like, oh, I want to get fucking natural test booster 10,000. I want to be the size of this guy. And that's not the truth. That's not really how it goes. A lot of supplement companies in general, and there's some incredible supplement companies out there, and if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I'm a fan of supplements in general, particularly supplementing back what's missing in your nutritional plan. You know, there's no supplement in the world that'll fix your nutrition if you haven't got that on point. But supplementing back what you're missing can work tremendously well for you. But a lot of supplement companies will market their fat burners, their weight gainers, their test boosters, all of these things with models that are either using some form of exogenous hormones, they've got incredible genetics, or they're doing things that aren't congruent to just using that supplement. But that's how the marketing companies work, and it works because I fell victim to it myself, so I know how powerful it is. Even though I was in the industry, you still fall for it. So in terms of should do natural test boosters work? Some work better than others. I have found a noticeable increase in strength and slightly in sex drive when I've used real organic Tribulus, and not the fucking €5 or €6 Tribulus that you get when you buy a free tub of protein, but organic Tribulus that has been sourced from, I think, mostly South America as far as I know. Using that in its purest form, I have noticed a slight increase in libido and an increase in strength. So in that sense, I have, whether it's a placebo effect or not, I have noticed a slight increase in the things that would cause you to feel an increase in testosterone in your body. That's probably the best one. Things like maca as well, that I like to supplement in my smoothies. I do notice a noticeable increase in overall energy levels, sex drive, libido, strength, all the things that will correspond with having higher test levels. It's also got a good level of iron, so it works very, very well for any females and stuff that may be on their menstrual cycle, because obviously when you're bleeding, you're going to lose some blood through that, and you want to put it back into your body by supplementing with iron or taking food or things like maca that are naturally high in iron. So that's another good one for females as well. In terms of the blended mixes that you can buy on the market that are, natural test booster 10,000, I think they're a waste of money. They're normally just a mixture of L-carnitine tartrate, D-aspartic acid, some organic tribulus, with a range of other placebo ingredients that I've found from my experience. I have found D-aspartic acid pretty good as well, but you normally have to take slightly more than what's recommended. I found that when I took 3 grams in the morning and 3 grams pre-workout, I did notice a little bit of an increase, but again, it's hard to know whether it's placebo effect. When you're going with supplements, the things that have been scientifically researched and backed and the things that I've tried myself, your creatines, your branched chain amino acids, glutamine, whey protein, rice protein, things that have the essential amino acids that your body needs, you're going to get what you need when you supplement it back in. Test boosters are a little bit of a, well, I've got extra money, I may throw 20, 30, 40 euro or 30, 40 dollars on this and see if it works. And then if you're not, hedging your bets too much on it. So that's kind of my thoughts on test boosters. I do like things like colostrum and L-cantor, which are IGF-1 boosters, which are insulin-like growth factor 1 boosters, which will have an indirect effect on your natural test levels, but it's boosting IGF-1 in your body. So that's what people use for anti-aging, for reduced body fat, for increased muscle size, a lot of things with IGF-1, and that's your way that you can take it naturally in the body so that you don't have to take a synthetic form of it. Next question, Gary O'Daly, if you were on death row, what would be your last meal? Okay, so I largely eat a lot of the same things day after day. Anyone's following my Snapchat, I eat a lot of chicken, turkey, steak, mixture of veg, fruit, sweet potatoes, oats. So my food's pretty similar. But if I was on death row, I would 100% go with some form of ice cream or chocolate. I joke regularly on my Facebook and Snapchat that I was born the wrong gender, that I feel sometimes like a pre-hormonal teenage girl when I get chocolate cravings. So any girl that's ever out there listening, or if you're listening to this and you get chocolate cravings, I get that 100%. I built a whole section into my program, my top 50 program, with how to deal with cravings and sweet tooths, because I have it myself and I've been able to come out the other side. So things like using chocolate protein, mixing it with blueberries, some Greek yogurt and blending it all up, and then adding some organic stevia is something that mimics ice cream that I find very, very well, works very well for me. And then obviously reducing out other foods that cause the cravings. But when you do have your sweet tooth, you can use things like your organic stevia and your chocolate protein to kind of minimize it and keep you on track. My last meal would probably be some form of ice cream and chocolate blending together. I'm on a big black and greens white chocolate kick at the minute. So probably some form of that. It wouldn't be anything fucking healthy anyway. I wouldn't be having broccoli or spinach. I'd be rocking up with some ice cream and chocolate for that meal, definitely, Gary. Okay, next question from Daz Johnston. Best alcohol to take if you have IBS. So IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So I've done a full podcast episode on this as well. So anyone here that has leaky gut, IBS, or stomach problems in general, definitely check out that episode I did. It was one of my most downloaded episodes, just because anyone that's been following me a while, you know I have a history of stomach problems, leaky gut, irritable bowel, and just stomach problems in general that I've nearly all but alleviated. And I say manage is probably a better word than completely fixed, because you never really fix irritable bowel syndrome. You can heal the intestinal wall and you can heal leaky gut and you can heal things, but you never fix it, because if you don't stay on top of it, it comes back again and then you get the spasms and all the problems that come with it. What happens with people with irritable bowel syndrome or leaky gut, I'll use them interchangeably, is when you have your intestinal wall, people that have irritable bowel syndrome normally have gaps in that intestinal wall. And what happens when you eat food or certain drinks that you'll have is food particles will come out through the intestinal wall and it'll send it back into your body, and then your body thinks that it's attacking itself and has an autoimmune response, which results in a spasm of the intestine. So that's one way. So that's why certain foods can trigger IBS in certain people. Drink will do the same thing. If you have anything like caffeine or alcohol that will stimulate the intestine, it'll make it spasm. So that spasm is what causes the diarrhea, it's what causes the cramps, it's what causes the constipation, it's what causes the discomfort. So the main thing is to try and heal your gut and your intestinal wall as much as you can before you reintroduce alcohol back in. So what I would do is I would advise, listen back over that episode, heal your intestinal wall, your good probiotics for your gut, and then glutamine and things like that to heal the intestinal wall, finding your trigger foods. And then the alcohol that's going to have the least amount of effect in your body is going to be a little bit of trial and error. But from personal experience, I always found clear alcohol to have the least amount of a negative effect on my body when I was at the height of my IBS. So for example, things like beer and barley, always upset my stomach for as long as I can remember. That it used to swell my stomach and I used to feel really, really uncomfortable for days after it. So I stopped drinking beer a long time ago. I drank a lot of cider, which also isn't the best for your stomach, but I found that I was able to consume it more than beer. I found things like red wine sent my stomach into a complete spasm. So for me, red wine was a trigger, so I avoided it completely. And then I would drink a lot of vodka, soda and lime, or vodka and diet mixers were normally my drink of choice when I was in that scene, and I used to go out every weekend. And that was normally pretty okay as long as I stayed on track during the week and didn't fall off with my food. It's similar to anyone that doesn't want to lose shape. When you're going out over the summer or over the winter or whatever it is, when you're going out drinking into events, it's the food that's going to set you back massively, assuming you're not drinking 7 nights a week. You know, alcohol obviously isn't amazing for your body. It's a toxin. That's why you feel so horrible the next day, is when your body's getting rid of that toxin. But it's not what really sets people back that I found in my experience. It's the takeaways, the fast food, the sugary foods, the ice creams, the pizzas the next day, and falling off with your nutrition and falling off with your diet that really sets people back. So even from a physique point of view, that's what I found. But if you have an irritable bowel or leaky gut or a sensitive stomach, the same thing holds true. Assuming you're choosing an alcohol, and I'm using my own personal experience for this, assuming you're choosing an alcohol that doesn't trigger you and doesn't upset your stomach and doesn't set your intestine off, as long as you stay on track with your food that night and the next day, and then supplement back in your glutamine, which will help heal your intestinal wall, or your probiotics to heal your gut, as long as you're getting those back in, you should be okay as long as your nutrition's on point. But it's a little bit of trial and error. But I have found with a lot of people that have came through my program, and I have a lot of IBS people come through my top 50 program, because obviously it's something that I've had personal experience with, that when they are going out drinking, it's normally the clear liquids, the Bacardi, the vodkas, the gins that tend to settle a lot better. But again, it's going to be a little bit of a case of trial and error, seeing what works for you, and then using that as your go-to drink. Next question from Robbie Staunton. How many carbs should I be eating if I'm trying to lose fat or cut? Okay, so it's the overall context of your nutrition is going to be key here for anybody that's looking to lose body fat. I've had people come through my online program that have had very low carbs. I've had other people come through with very high carbs, and both have lost body fat, both have lost weight, or both have changed their body composition for whatever their specific goals were. The key is making sure that you have everything in the overall context in alignment with losing body fat and cutting. So in its purest form, to lose body fat or to cut, you want to be in a calorie deficit, which basically means that you're eating less calories than you're burning. So if, for example, your maintenance calories is 2,000 calories, and you need to eat 2,000 calories every day to stay that exact same weight or stay that exact same body composition. Of course, there's loads of hormonal things that come into factor here, the foods you're consuming, the types of glycemic carbs, the training programs you're following, all of these play a role. But from the most basic point of view, if you eat less calories or you burn more calories than you eat and consume, you're going to lose body fat or you're going to lose weight. So for example, if you're eating 2,000 calories, you need 2,000 calories to stay the same weight, and you eat 1,500 every day, you're probably going to lose weight and you're probably going to lose body fat. Again, your body's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2, but for simplicity's sake, that is the way most people get into a cut. So the people that will follow an IIFYM, which is if it fits your macros, will tell you that it doesn't really matter where your sources of calories come from as long as you eat a calorie deficit. And to a degree, they're right. Again, the same as everything, it's not as straightforward as that, because if you're eating your calorie intake from good, clean, real foods that your body is processing, it's going to increase your energy levels, means your training output will be more, means your mental function will be better, and your body composition will be better. If you're getting your 1,500 calories from Pop-Tarts and fucking sugary sweets, you may lose weight, but your body composition is not going to change that much, and you're still going to look largely the same. So again, there's a lot of context that needs to be applied depending on each person's scenario. But my advice would be for anybody that's looking to lose body fat or cut, make sure that you've got everything geared in alignment with working towards losing or lowering body fat. So your training program is focused on losing body fat. My personal preference, and there's lots of ways to do this, personal preference, I like focusing on tension style training so that you tear more fibers and you're elevating your metabolism, so that when you go home and you're sitting at home watching Game of Thrones or The Kardashian or reading a book or playing with your kids or just sitting on the couch, you're burning more calories trying to repair from that workout. That's what tension style training does. It elevates your metabolism through tearing more fibers in your muscle. On top of that then, I tend to go towards a high intensity interval style training to burn more body fat. It's not that low intensity is any worse or better. They're both great systems, and depending on the nutritional plan you're following, depending on your body type, it's going to be a case of figuring what works best for you. The majority of people I have come through my online program, and I'll use my top 50 program because it gives context to my answer. The majority of people I have them doing high intensity interval training because it's a better bang for your buck in terms of you don't have to do as much and you get similar if not better results in terms of fat loss. That being said, I have had people come through that have done low intensity because that style works better for them, whether it's their metabolism, their body type, and there's some people that will just respond better to low intensity style work. So it's very much a case of finding what works best for you. So my advice would be gear your training program towards that, however that looks for you, and then manipulate your nutrition so that it's in alignment with that. So you're not eating too many calories, because at the end of the day, if your maintenance is 2,000 calories and you're eating 5,000 every day, you're probably not going to lose that much weight. You're probably not going to lose that much body fat. So making sure that you have some idea of the calories that you're eating in the macros is going to play a role. I don't like people getting obsessed with the numbers they're taking in, because your body's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. That being said, knowing yourself is key. I've had people come through my program, again, I'll use it as context, that will go through and I'll give them the nutritional plans in the program and they'll follow it to the letter and they never have to think about it again. Other people like to use MyFitnessPal to calculate everything because that's what reduces their stress level, and when it works for them, that's what you do. Other people then will just prefer to use clean eating and kind of gauge by eye that, well, I'm going to eat my carbs before I train or after I train, and I'm going to eat this amount of chicken, in 3 meals, or whatever example that looks like, because everybody is different. Finding what works best for you is always going to be key. If you're someone that works better off just having a set plan and tell me what I need to eat, then that's what you do. If you're someone that works better off, well, I'm going to put everything into MyFitnessPal and into an app, and that actually makes me stress less, then that's what you do. If you're somebody that's the opposite, and if you go over or under your calories for the day, you get pure stressed out, then tracking every macro is probably not going to help you that much. So my advice would be is find what works best for you and then make that system apply for your overall nutrition. So it's not a case of how many carbs you eat, it's the context of everything. The one advice I would offer is try and keep your carbohydrates at insulin sensitive times if fat loss is your goal. My favorite time to eat carbohydrates is post-workout or first thing in the morning when you're more insulin sensitive, after a fasted state. If you've been asleep 6, 7, 8 hours, your body's going to be like a sponge when you wake up. You can have a slow glycemic release, a slow releasing carbohydrate, a low glycemic carb at that time, and it's just going to balance out your blood sugars again. The same post-workout. Again, context is key. If you're somebody with a very fast metabolism, you may have some simple sugars while you train, and that may work for you. There's no one size fits all. There's not a case of eat 30 grams of carbs every day or eat 100 grams of carbs every day and you lose body fat. It's going to be finding what works for you. Some people will diet on 50 grams of carbs a day. Other people will diet on 500 grams of carbs a day, and both could lose body fat if everything was worked out in context to them. So my advice would be have a play around with it. If you're unsure, get yourself a nutritional plan or get yourself into a program with somebody that will support you and tweak it and change it and find what works for you. And when you see your body composition changing and your body fat lowering and reducing down, then start doubling down on that and do more of what you know works. Okay, last question from Emmett Feeney. What's your opinion on fake natties? This is probably going to be a short one because I don't have a very strong opinion, but I think it ties in quite well with the natural test boosting question at the start. So anyone that doesn't know, fake natties are people that are online that claim to not use pro-hormone or steroids or performance enhancers and claim that they don't use anything. I think the fake natty, personally, I don't care. If we're going to be very honest and on this question, I don't really care what anybody else is doing. I largely find that most of my unhappiness in life comes when I'm focusing on what other people are doing, and when I'm in the most content in myself, when I'm providing value to the people that are following me or listening to me, or I am making videos and doing the things that I love to do, that's when I'm at my most happiest. I know myself when I'm at my most unhappiest is when I'm following what other people are doing and I start comparing myself to other people. I love the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And I had this discussion with Paul, who came through my mentorship program. He's now running his own business. And one of the things that we had this conversation last week was, I know that I go into an anxious state and all my anxiety comes back up to the front when I start comparing myself to other people and I'm worried what other people are doing. I'm at my most happiest, my most creative, and my most fulfilled when I'm doing my thing. So in terms of my opinion on fake nannies, I don't really have any strong opinion on what anybody else is doing. But the flip side of that is, just be aware that everything you see online isn't as it always seems. I very much got a landing like a brick to the face when I was doing that traveling the world as a fitness model, and I competed in the world championships in Las Vegas, where I finished 8th in the world, and I was meeting people who I'd been following for years, people who I considered idols and I'd been looking up to on social media for as long as I can remember, and I was competing against some of them. I've seen some of them backstage, and it's a very daunting reality when they say you should never meet your heroes. Largely, I don't know if that's true, because I have met some people that I would consider very high up and they've been incredible. But in that context, when I started to meet these fitness models and people that were perceived to be doing incredibly well, I realized that there was a lot of what you see isn't necessarily what you get. People who look like the most secure and successful people that you would ever see by their Instagram page were the most insecure, and quite frankly, some of them weren't very nice people. They were very narcissistic. Not all, there's some incredible people, but from my experience and some of my heroes, there was a narcissism and it's all about me feeling that I got with a lot of these people. So there was also a couple of people who would be quote unquote natties that weren't, because they discussed different things with me. So that's also worth considering, that what you see on social media isn't always what you get. What you hear isn't always the truth. So just take everything with a pinch of salt and a grain of salt. My own thought process towards it is, I don't care. I'm at my most happiest when I'm not worried what other people are doing. But the advice I would offer to Emmett and to anybody else who cares about what other people are doing is, one, that's not going to help you on your goal, caring about what they do. But two, if it is somebody you're following or it is things you're following, just be aware that every limousine or wad of cash or amazing couple goals that you see on social media isn't necessarily always the case. And I have personally found that sometimes, not always, that the more perfect someone's life looks on Instagram, when you actually meet that person, tends to be a direct inverse into how content they really are. That isn't the case with everybody. There's some people that have incredible lives, and it looks amazing on social media, and they are truly fulfilled in what they're doing. I'm only speaking out of what I've found from being in that world. But my advice would be, don't worry what anybody else is doing. And if you are, just realize that everything you see isn't always the case. Everything we see is an opinion. Everything we hear is a perspective of that moment in time. One of the Marcus Aurelius' quotes, and it's so true. And social media is one of those that is very easy to fake, so just be aware that if it's not supporting you, I probably could. I've talked on other episodes before about auditing your social media, and I throw myself into this bracket. If you follow me and I make you feel bad about yourself and you don't like my content, then fucking unfollow me. If I'm not supporting you becoming a stronger version of yourself, do not consume my content. Don't watch my videos. Don't listen to the podcast, and don't be on my Instagram, because that's not what the end goal is. It's about finding what works best for you and the people that are supporting you becoming a stronger version of yourself, and then following those people. And I throw myself into that bracket. If I'm not doing that, and if I make you feel insecure or bad about yourself at any moment in time, and it's continuously happening, please unfollow me, because I do not want to be a part of you becoming a weaker version of yourself. The goal is find the people that support you moving forward, that strengthen your mindset, that strengthen your knowledge, that make you feel better about yourself, make you feel like you can achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, and then double the fuck down on those people, because they're the people that are going to support you moving forward, not the people that make it out that their life's incredible on social media. So hope you guys got a load of value from this episode. A little bit different. I just picked questions at random from my Facebook this time round. So a massive thank you for listening and downloading. For more information on me or for my programs, my GA Lean Body program or my Top 50 online program, head over to the website www.briankeenfitness.com. My Facebook, my YouTube and Instagram is all Brian Keane Fitness, and my Snapchat BrianK019, which is my most active platform at the minute. If you're following me on anything, definitely follow my Snapchat. I love it because I can interact with people back and forth in the Q&As on Snapchat. Again, thanks for downloading. Thanks to Colm over at Voxonic who puts together all my episodes. Thanks again for listening. Catch you soon.